Hello. Can you hear us? Can we be heard? It doesn't look like it's moved everything, so that's good.
Okay, well, there's no technical issues then.
Not yet. The night is still
Okay.
young, Rich.
Yeah, it's true.
The night is still young. How is everyone this evening? It's evening over here in the UK. How are you all in your various areas of the world? Oh, Moobot is still thinks I'm. There you go. There's your first technical issue. I forgot to turn Moobot off, which thinks I'm still streaming for charity. I'm not streaming for charity.
We are constantly supporting the wildlife, though.
But do you know what? That link is still active, so feel
Yeah.
free to go. If you've got an extra bit of cash, go and donate to the World Wildlife Fund. That's not what we're
Okay.
streaming for, but there you are. Because I don't quite have the moment to go and turn that off now. Oh, so we're a bit low on volume, you say. Let me. Is it someone's particular volume, or is it
Both of us.
both of us? I can turn us up. I'm turning us up. Is that any better?
Hopefully better. Check, check, check.
Mic 1 2 1 2. Well, welcome everyone to our first stream on the development of ARGO-0. You can see on the document in front, we have helpfully written Argonaut so that everyone knows how it is supposed to be pronounced. I will pop Rich up a little bit more because I'm being
Thank you.
told
Yeah, it's probably
make
it's
Rich
probably my
louder.
headphones. It's probably my
Make
headphones.
Rich louder.
Like most people want to turn me down.
What with your pearls of wisdom? Never. um. Okay, I have put Rich up a little bit. Um. Hopefully that's enough. If not,
Cool, cool, cool.
tough. Um. Cool. Yeah, welcome. We are here streaming about. Sorry, we are starting a little bit late. I had some slight technical issues, but nothing too severe. We're here streaming about Argonaut, as you might have noticed. Um, this is the game that Rich and I are currently developing together. And we're very, very excited to start talking about it. We've been developing it as of the beginning of the month now, officially. But I think that we've been working on it for a bit longer than that. But
Yeah.
officially since the beginning of the month. Um, for those of you who don't know who I am Kat, the Law Mistress, or just Kat is fine. um, you can find me on socials at Law Mistress 93, and I normally. This is not my area of expertise. Normally, I'm a writer and an editor, and I occasionally stream. I'm streaming more and more. This is the first stream that I've ever produced, though, so and I do welcome any and all feedback of how the production is going, because if it's going badly, I need to know about it.
The overlay looks
And
amazing, by the way.
yeah, the
It
overlay
looks
was the
so cool.
work of the wonderful Ennio, who has done. If you came to watch my Bar the Windows, Bolt the Doors stream way back in December, Ennio did that overlay and it was fantastic. Ennio is doing another overlay for me for a future project.
Oh,
Look
cool.
out, Halloween. Playing a game on Halloween. So, but you'll all find out about that if you follow me on social media. Um, but yeah, this is not my usual thing. This is my first time dipping my toes properly into game design, apart from sort of hacking the odd thing. And I'm here with someone who knows exactly what they're doing, isn't that right, Rich?
Whatever. I was talking about
um,
talking before we streamed about getting all my Twitch followers over to you. I don't know. Clearly, they know what I'm
Perfect.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only reading why I'm friends with Rich. I just want Rich's Twitch followers.
Just
That's it.
relinquish all that streaming stuff. Yeah.
Streaming malarkey.
Yeah.
But in terms of game design, I don't know, Rich, you designed a game or two before, haven't you? I
Done a
think.
few. Done a few. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
I'm Rich. I'm HatchlingDM most places. I'm run Hatchling's games, and we make TTRPGs for all ages. Kind of best known for Inspirals and Overisles, which teach sign language. And hopefully known for other things like ARGO-0 and Cryptic Creeks.
Cryptid Creeks. That's the one. So that one's just funded, hasn't it,
Yeah,
on Kickstarter?
that was
Quite
great.
well.
Yeah, it did really
Yeah.
well. I'm really pleased with that, and
Yeah.
it's going to give us plenty of money to produce it as we want, and hopefully we'll get a
Yes.
good crowd fund with this one as well.
Mhm. You hear all that, chat? Good crowdfund, please.
Yeah.
But yes. Uh, so yes, if you've only just joined us, we are not streaming for Wild Wildlife Fund UK, but do feel free to donate at that link. It is still active if you want to. Um, cool. So really, we're here to kind of just chat about the game, and start maybe a little bit of development. We thought it would be fun to um kind of come up with some ideas on the stream, make parts of it interactive, and get plenty of your ideas, because quite a good portion of you watching are probably going to be from the TTRPG community, which means that you will have plenty to say, and sort of a good idea of what you would like to see from a game like Argo-0, and we really want to hear it. And some of the ideas we possibly will end up incorporating. You can see on the screen at the moment we have a working
Sure.
document. This document changes all the time. um, and so there will definitely be things on there that we will and won't use, but we're kind of using it as our way of, I don't know, organizing our brains, I guess. Because we've
Yeah,
got a lot of
definitely.
ideas for this game. I guess to put the game, if we were to kind of summarize it in a sentence, Rich, I think that we would probably say if you enjoy Hades, um, love a bit of Lancer, it's kind of Greek myth meets sci-fi, 80s cartoon Odyssey, Space
That's
Odyssey.
basically it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, I kind of grew up. I kind of grew up watching Ulysses 31. That was one of my favorite cartoons as a kid, and Jason the Wheeled Warriors and all those kind of like far future sci-fi shows. And yeah, it's kind of inspired by that really. And then some wonderful like science fiction RPGs like Lancer out there. And then obviously recently started playing Hades, and I couldn't believe how good
yes.
the kind of lore behind it, or how they incorporated the gods and the kind of the
Hades
pantheon.
is amazing. It's truly one of like my favorite games. And not just because it's Greek myth related, because everyone who knows me and knows a bit about like my brand and what I love knows that like mythology and folklore and stuff is a big part of it. I just love stories, especially the ancient ones. But yeah, I love Hades so much. It's just so the art, everything is just gorgeous. In answer to your question, Critical Chit, Justin, no, I have not had the chance to play Lancer yet, which is a great shame. And probably Rich is shaking his head now, like should have written that in the
I'm not
contract.
shaking my head.
Should have written
No,
that in the contract. We need to
the only
play.
contract clause is
Yeah, it's absolutely on my list. I want to play with you, and definitely with someone who I absolutely consider the monarch of Lancer,
hmm
which is JC Darcy, who
hmm
just Lancer is everything to Darcy, and I would love to play something like that with Darcy. It would be great. Um, but yes, very inspired by like I love what I think one of my favorite things actually about Lancer is the community. Like it's got such a strong like following, backing. Their fans love it, and they like there's like memes. There's Lancer memes and things, and it just absolutely like blows my mind that they have such a strong like fan base and strong community. So I would love like to get that going for this game because it's yeah, it's going to be really fun. The game itself will also be using the Paragon SRD, which is the rule set that is used to create. Oh, you had that waiting. You had that ready. I didn't even cue that. To create Aegon. Now I don't know if anyone has played Aegon. It's a great game. You're cracking me up, Rich. Rich is like my glamorous
round
assistant
three.
right now. um, Rich, you've completely thrown me off my
sorry,
train of
sorry,
thought.
sorry, sorry.
Um, Aegon is essentially built to kind of allow players um, to experience essentially like an ancient Greek Odyssey, and kind of build themselves up to be a crew of heroes and build that reputation and that story and that myth. It's a great game, and the system itself is really cool. So what we're doing essentially is we're taking that and we're dumping it into space,
Yeah.
and aiming to try to, like, we're going to take the things that we love from the system and the system reference document and things that we love from Aegon, and then we're going to expand upon the things that we think should be expanded upon a little more. Space, yes, space. Um, and yeah, and what these development streams are really just going to be about is we're here to answer questions if we have the answers, because it is a game in development, so we might not have the answers just yet. But if we have the answers, we'll answer. We're here to kind of chat and get some ideas about what you would love to see from it, and kind of hopefully get some excitement around what we kind of want to put into it. As you can see, we have a handy list of things that we want to add to the game, to the SRD, and we're kind of basically changing all the terminology and everything like that. So hopefully this will be an interesting uh, way of looking at game development as well, and it will teach me a lot of things because game development is not something I know huge amounts about. So I will be very much following Rich's lead on a lot of things. So
it's just really handy to have a working SRD system reference document for any game you're developing. I think it's like the same thing as using, like, if you're developing an indie video game, for instance, having like pre-written scripts for all your mechanics within the game. So you jump into Unity and grab a load of pre-made scripts, even player movement. So it just, and also it's gone through a lot of play testing already. So if you don't change the system a great deal, then you've already got like the basis of like a really like honed system. Hopefully, that's been play tested to death. So there's quite a few advantages, really.
yeah, exactly. I noticed that Clunch wrote what they're expecting is like a room generation and roguelike experience. That is so the Lancer, you're definitely getting the mech themed. That is absolutely gonna be a big part of it. Essentially, what we're kind of looking at though is where we're drawing the inspiration from Hades comes from in the game of Aegon, the gods kind of sway a lot of what the characters do and don't, and you kind of earn, I guess, like boons or
Hmm.
earn,
That's
uh,
right.
uh, what's it, disadvantages by uh, pleasing or angering the gods. And where we were inspired by Hades is what's great about that game when you kind of like explore the environment, you are offered kind of boons and sort of level up systems for your weapons and things like that, um, by the gods. And that is where we're kind of getting a lot from Hades. Because we will have in our game benefactors, uh, so they're not gods in the sense that they are deities, mythical deities, but they are certainly the gods of the world in the sense that they run this particular sort of, I guess, federation of planets and um, uh, um, trading posts and such. And they sometimes like each other, sometimes don't, sometimes get on, sometimes actively sabotage each other, and their squabbles become your squabbles,
Hmm.
and their desires become your desires. They have the power, however, to provide players boons um, and sort of gifts for doing things that they're impressed by. Um, Equally, if they're not so impressed with you, you better watch out. um, because they also have the power to sabotage you in a lot of ways. And I think that what we are planning to do with the game is, and it will come with a sort of starter adventure, which will be heavily based on the Greek myth, Jason and the Argonauts. Hence Argonaut. But you will be sort of traveling from planet to planet, or situation to situation, I should say. And you will choose how you want to approach that situation, role play it. There might be combat involved, be it mech based combat or space based combat. And then at the end, you will have like I guess I would call it like a reflection phase,
Mm.
in which you kind of uh, note your characters, and that's kind of a big part of Aegon. You note your characters' actions, and it builds into your reputation and your relationship with these benefactors. And then you carry that forward onto the next situation. I think I've summed it up
Yeah, yeah.
pretty concisely there.
So the
But
overall, yeah.
yes,
So
go on.
the overall kind of premise is that you're sort of the crew of the ARGO-0 and or Argonaut, and you're kind of heading towards the Golden Moon. Basically, you've got to get the resources from this moon and head back to the outpost, and then you return to like a hero's welcome. But in order to get there, you need the sponsorship of these benefactors, which are gods, you know. And of course, each one has different things that they give the players or gift the players, but they also want things for themselves. So during your voyage, you're going to be overall trying to reach your destination and kind of fulfill your kind of task, but there'll be hiccups along the way because the benefactors do not interact well sometimes. They're rivals.
Sometimes.
They're rivals. So yeah, so it's going to be interesting that kind of push and pull between like cooperation and kind of like sabotage.
Hmm. I think it's going to be really fun as well, because obviously the sort of the facilitator of the game, as it were, sort of our version of the game master,
And we haven't got a name for that. We
will
haven't got a name for them yet. Sorry
we
to
haven't got a
interrupt.
name for that
Well,
yet.
that's the first thing we
In
need.
the SRD, it's called a strife player, I believe.
Mm.
Um, but our facilitator will be kind of um, getting to role play a lot of these benefactors, and obviously being very lore focused myself, I cannot wait to give them all very juicy backstories that everyone can dig into and sort of delve into as much as they do or don't want to. But I know when I run it, I will be. Um, they're just yeah, it's something that it's always struck me about the Greek gods, is they were kind of revered as these like better than humans, but they squabbled so much and had so many disagreements that they were just basically humans with the power to thoroughly annihilate, which is terrifying actually when you
Yeah,
think
for
about it.
sure.
Um, but wait, you like lore? Yeah, do you know what? Sometimes it really depends. I mean, I could go either way on it. Um, um, but yes. If you have any questions, please pop them into chat. I will be trying to keep an eye on chat, and answer them. I'll let Rich know if we get any questions as
Mhm.
well, that I think Rich can answer better than me. And we will kind of crack on and having a look at some bits now, I think,
Mhm.
um, and maybe getting some input from our lovely chat. We're excited to have so many people here, so thank you for coming along and being active and chatting with us, because I'm kind of here just to chill out. I've got my tea, got some biscuits. Um, but yeah, so Rich, did we want to work on this concept this concept paragraph?
We could yeah, we should do that really. Just like get it
That
nice and
sounds like you want to do something else.
no. I think we should. That's a good. That's a really good place to start. Right, if we get the blurb, like written
The
properly.
blurb. All right, let
So
me
if I read
just
what we've got so far, so if you excuse my terrible reading voice, um,
go on, Gandalf it.
somewhere in deepest space, on a struggling outpost, industry leaders pool their resources to sponsor a desperate mission to harvest the golden moon of F133C3. Now that's meant to say fleece, obviously, because it's a golden fleece like reference.
I actually got it. I got that. I got it.
Did you?
Uh,
Yeah,
keep spoon feeding me. Go on.
yeah, yeah. Modifying a transportation vessel, the Argo is outfitted with to withstand the asteroid belt floating between the outpost and Salvation. This is your mission now.
Oh, that was. This
That's
is
all I've
your
got so
mission
far.
now.
This is your mission now. So basically, the idea. So in Aegon, you basically, because it's Greek myths, you're kind of you're going from island to island, a bit like Odysseus in the Odyssey. And there's
Mhm.
various, and most of it is, to be honest, most of it is like battles. Most of it's kind of like conflicts. That way, like like weapons and kind of like heroic battles with like monsters and like other Greek kind of like factions. Whereas in our game Argonaut, we want kind of a bit more variety. What kind of exploration? We want kind of
Mhm.
like almost like searching for like minerals, because the ship, we're going to have a mechanic where the ship kind of degrades, kind of, and it gets damaged and needs repairing, or it needs more fuel and things. So you have to get
Mhm.
that while you're on some of the asteroids, which they're going to be a series of asteroids basically in this kind of game. So instead of islands, they're asteroids, because it's like set in deep space. And at the end of this asteroid belt is the golden moon, which is kind of what your ultimate kind of task or outcome. Um, but so these benefactors sponsor this mission, so that they're essentially like in Argonaut, Jason the Argonauts. They kind of have these rich Greek uh, rulers kind of like sponsoring and sending their best kind of warriors on this journey. Like Hercules is on the ship, and a few others. I think Katrina will know more. Like, but
Oh no! Don't do that to me.
put you on the spot.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Hercules was one of them.
Yeah, I
Um,
think Jason was on there as well. I think Jason was on there, and there was
Jason and the Argonauts. Yeah,
yeah,
I
there was
would say that Jason was probably on there. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
um, yeah. There was a couple of. There was a couple. I think Hercules is probably the most famous one. But there were a
yeah.
couple of other sort of
And
more
he was kind of
ish famous ones.
but anyway, we're not sticking to that very close anyway. Just it's kind of the underlying theme of the game. But so they sponsor this mission, and then they're each industry leaders. So these people, instead of being gods, they're kind of like head of weapons division, or head of like subterfuge, or like I think Hades is like
Cybernetics.
yeah, cybernetics. Someone's like very FTL
Hades
exactly.
controls the criminal underworld.
Yeah, exactly. So
That was
when
that was
carry
sorry,
on.
that's just punny. Yeah. No, go on, go on, go on.
So like Hades, for example, would be able to before you went to your next asteroid or your next kind of scenario, they could have like influenced some of the clans within the asteroid belt, or some of the like junkers or something, like a rival kind of like thing, and some they could ask them to like turn on their sort of comrades and things. So they've got more of a kind of like underworld kind of influence. Whereas like Ares will just have like massive laser guns and giant mech suits and things, you know,
All of the explosives,
grenades. Yeah, basically, yeah. Uh, and
basically.
and the good thing about that is the players get to choose what benefactors they want to sort of like kind of appease, or kind of like go with. So they have like, say you imagine like a player would have like an outfit with their like industry logo on it. Like Hades Industries. I don't know. God knows what they'd be called.
Hades Industries.
That's
Well, that's
terrible.
one of the things that we're definitely going to work
Cerberus.
on in one of
Cerberus
these.
Industries.
See, we got to, sort of the minutia details that we've got to come up with, and we
Yeah, of
probably
course.
will
Yeah, as you go
focus
through it.
on in one of these streams, I think,
Yeah,
looking kind
exactly.
of at like the names, because they're not going to be called
No,
Hades and Zeus
no.
and that. That's a bit too on the nose. We're gonna kind of change the names a little bit.
Mhm.
And then, sorry, my cat is just mewing at me. It's decided now is the time for fuss and attention. Um, and we want to come up with like a company name, and I suppose a, a little logo as well, or some sort of design notes behind each logo. 'Cause
Yeah.
we got an amazing team so far. One of them I think is lurking in this chat. Um, Enio is gonna be our layout artist, and
Yeah,
obviously
brilliant.
did this overlay, which is already incredible. Um, but yeah, they're going to do the kind of the layout of the book, which is amazing. And we have Alex Connolly, who is going to be is responsible for the art that you see in this overlay, and the sort of the cover art and that we've kind of put out on social media already, and is gonna do all of the art for the book, I think, is what we're looking at
Yeah,
with Alex.
because
Yeah.
I mean, Alex, I sort of I found him through. I don't know if anyone knows the game Salvage Union. It's basically like a mech game about industry mechs, basically. Absolutely stunning, like designs all the way through the book, and like dozens of them as well. Um, and I reached out about who someone who can design, like, you know, those sort of images and those sort of themes, like mechanized vehicles and all sorts of things. And I didn't realize. I often find that I reach out to an artist for some one idea, and then they come back with like, oh, I could do characters, or I could do backgrounds, or I
Mm.
could do like landscapes. And Alex can really do everything. So that's why we're not
Mhm.
stretching our art team out so much at the moment, because he seems to be able to handle most things. And if you start early enough with someone, through in the same time you're developing a game, they start to do art assets, then you get to crowdfunding the same time. We're on about 80 to 90% of the game complete by that point.
Mhm.
Um, so it's no problem. Whereas I've never worked that way before. I've always like had like 40 or 30 to 40% of a game done before I crowdfund it, which is not a recommended thing you should do. It's my one tip for crowdfunding. Don't get the game mostly finished before you head to Kickstarter or whatever platform you're using, because
Mhm.
it's a massive headache otherwise.
Mhm. Um. All right. Let's dig into this, shall we?
Hmm.
If I can find my Google Doc. So many windows. So many windows open right now. Okay. Okay, yes. Yeah, so I mean, that's a pretty good, I mean, especially
It's
read in
not
the
bad.
Gandalf voice.
That's
Uh,
terrible Gandalf
works,
voice.
works pretty well. Um, but I think it's a really good opening, I think, for the the starter adventure, because that's
Hmm.
specific. That's very specific um
Yeah,
to having the Golden Moon. Um,
yeah, because we're building this system to accommodate much more adventures, and for obviously players of the game, or GMs of the game, to really expand it out into their own kind of like space operas, or
mm.
Greek myth related stuff. Um, so we're trying
And
to get the
obviously the
basic
idea
system
is,
down.
yeah, exactly. The idea is it's going to be very, we're going make the actual like gameplay side of it very simple and easy to follow, so that you can essentially, as a facilitator, I guess, like drag and drop what you want, like types of encounters, the role play lore, or the lore that kind of feeds into it will be there, and it'll be easy to kind of just go, okay, I want them to explore once, and then have a couple of in combat encounters, and then a social encounter, and there'll be sort of very easy step by step guides on kind of how to do that. We were talking about having like role tables and things that people will be able to
Hmm.
um, easily kind of draw from those.
Exactly.
So
Um,
yeah, we want to make it like a very accessible, easy to follow system, so that lots of different ages can play.
yeah, and also like we'd love to have the community kind of expand on the benefactors as well, you know, or even like you could even move into different mythologies. That would be cool, like Horus
Ooh.
and like Odin and things.
Oh, oh goodness. Now we're going into a completely different system. The Norse system.
Yeah, but you know, like just like have
Don't get
free.
me started. I'm
No, I know,
already.
no, I'm not doing that. That's not a good idea. Clutch asks, how big you thinking of the asteroids since their affections on them? I think the asteroids will be like a really varied. I think some of them will be like small fragments of broke off bigger ones, and some of them will be like vast, almost like planet-sized ones.
Yeah,
But your
basically would be planets.
your kind of scenarios will always be like very honed in one area.
Mhm.
Uh, you'll have particular things you need to do, and you know, and we're also what Aegon doesn't explore is obviously like you're like kind of a group of warriors in that game, but there's no kind of mechanics for like on the sea between the islands. Whereas, like, I think
Mm.
that's a bit of a missed trick because I think we really want to explore deep space as well. When you're on the actual ship, we want to make that part of the gameplay. So
Mhm.
before you even land on these, I suppose you can call them encounters, the kind of the asteroids. We want to have lots of role playing and lots of kind of things between the asteroids,
Yeah.
even
Um.
combat, even combat like space combat.
Yeah. Like a. Yeah. Exactly. Um. Enio's written Argo Norse. What have we done? Just
I shouldn't have said
all
that. I
Rich
should have
has to
said
do
that.
is
Should have
all Rich
said
has to
that.
do is just open his mouth and say one sentence, and now my brain's like, oh my goodness,
No,
a
no, no,
whole
no. Stick to
world
it.
of possibilities has
No,
just
stick
opened.
to this. Stick to this.
um, yeah, I think it will be. What was I gonna say? Oh, I had a thought in my head, and now it's completely gone. Um, I think yeah, I do agree that it's a bit of a mixed trick. It kind of I guess it reminds me a little bit of Mass Effect if I'm to draw from another
That's true.
thing. I think that what I like about Mass Effect is essentially you're kind of like you dip in and out of doing missions as it were, and then there's
Yeah.
moments where you're just on the ship and you're interacting
Hmm.
with your crew, building relationships,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
for
some
sure.
some some more romantic than others, I guess.
Hmm.
And I think like that part of Mass Effect where you're just interacting with people and building relationships was just as exciting to people, if not more so, than sort of like actually getting off the ship and going around and doing the missions. Um, and then there's moments of like space combat, and so
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel Mass Effect is a good
Yeah, it's a
way of
good
thinking
benchmark.
of
It's
a
a good
good
benchmark
benchmark
for
in
it.
terms of that as
Yeah.
well, because it's got a bit of everything.
It's very mythological as well, right? It's very mythological. Like what you're doing in the narrative is to do with like alien kind of like
Mm,
civilizations and things.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean most stuff is based on mythology. Most like kind of creative media, most role playing games, most kind of video games, they've all got some sort of even if it's like an original mythology, they're kind of
Mhm.
exploring kind of like landscapes and peoples and communities and kind of like
Yeah.
storytelling in it essentially. So yeah, I think we could use Mass Effect. I haven't confession. I've never played
Honestly, I've not like massively
them.
played it. Massively
No,
played it.
people absolutely rave about the
But
trilogy,
I've
but like,
seen it played like for countless hours, and it is an
mm,
incredible game. Like it's so open world, and what I love about it as well is like the Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3. You can kind of take the same character and all the relationships from the previous game that you built carry over
yeah,
into the
that's
second
cool.
and third game. It's a really interesting uh, um, thing.
But in
Um,
terms of interactions on the ship, I 100% agree with you. Like in terms of those kind of like player interactions, because you're gonna have cabins each, and you're gonna have like mechanics around that, and
mhm.
you're gonna have a terminal, which is called not Athena, it's called
Medea. Medea.
Medea.
Yeah.
So we've got one of the gods, Medea, being our computer terminal on the ship, a bit like 2001: A Space Odyssey and things like that, and the Forbidden Planet. They all have kind of like a computer AI. Um, so we're having that, but they are kind of the what's the mediator between the crew and the outpost,
Mhm.
and they also do obviously do the ship schematics and things like this. Um,
Yeah, they're kind of like I guess they're your source of information, right? They're
mhm,
like the AI that lives on your ship,
yeah,
that tells you how the systems are running. They're that voice that tells you systems are running at 10%, and you're like, oh no, we're about to die. Um, but they are also kind of keeping an eye on, I guess, your relationships with the various benefactors based
mhm,
on patterns that those benefactors kind of what they do in response to whether they are pleased or displeased with certain situations. Um, they serve as sort of like your overview of how you are getting on in the game. But what they also have, I think, a lot of role playing potential in terms of anyone who I don't know if anyone knows who Medea is in the original Jason and the Argonaut story. Medea is a sorceress who is kind of rescued by Jason and goes along with Jason and helps Jason kind of achieve all of these goals. Basically, does a lot of the work for Jason. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and then things between Medea and Jason do sour. And I do think that there is some role playing potential for that.
mhm.
You could definitely, if you've played Halo, you could definitely go for a bit of a Cortana vibe in terms of that as well, if you wanted to, or Medea could just remain your friendly AI. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well, we could have
um,
viruses and stuff in it and things like that.
exactly,
Be
like
really
so,
interesting
yeah, and then maybe Medea might not be as helpful as you had once hoped.
because
But
we'll have one of the benefactors be like the head of kind of what's the word, like computers and AI and stuff like that. You know, and they'll gift players kind of ability to like use computer equipment,
oh, I like
terminals,
that
all sorts of
idea.
things.
Um, DC Bradshaw suggested maybe Medea could be like an acronym for something. We could think of
Could be.
something.
We could think of that.
We
Yeah.
could think of that, yeah. Not off the top of my head right now, but I could
Feel
come up.
free.
I think we could
Feel
come up
free
with
to
something.
workshop before next stream.
Yeah, workshop that workshop that in chat. Hello everyone who might have just joined us as well. I will once again remind you we are technically not streaming to support WWF UK, but that link is still live. Feel free to go donate. Uh, but I just forgot to turn Moobot off. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, and there will also, I think that's something that we haven't really touched upon. there will be it's kind of written here as calamitous events.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah.
We are planning to have space monsters.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh yes. Or even I guess re-thought up um ideas that could represent certain monsters,
Hmm.
such as terrible weather, like storms,
Yeah.
meteor storms, all sorts of things that could kind of um, uh, I love the idea, for example, of like you could definitely have just a Kraken space monster, but I also love the idea of like a storm called the Kraken or something like
Yeah.
that. Just something that
Exactly.
kind of,
Yeah.
because of the way that it behaves or because of the way that the
Hmm.
clouds are. Um, so yeah, as if you didn't have enough trouble pleasing your benefactors, there's a lot of danger on this adventure, and that kind of is slotted in around these meteors, I guess, in that kind of downtime in between.
Yeah,
You
because
might
like
come
I mean,
across a calamitous event.
I can just
Uh,
imagine like the Kraken just like smashing through one of the asteroids you're meant to be traveling to, just obliterating it, and then like causing a debris to be like one of your counters. You've got to kind of negotiate it, things like
yeah,
that. So like
yeah.
these kind of like emergent events would be really cool.
hmm Um, and in terms of other things we had ideas for, we kind of briefly talked about like sort of, I guess, factions, more criminal factions,
Hmm.
junkers. Um, Rich and I have been playing with the idea of, in Greek mythology, there's a lot of the somethings, there's like the muses and the furies and all sorts, and we kind of played with the idea of like having some mythological creatures and some groups um, be sort of like junker factions or
Hmm.
groups that you have to watch out for. Um, so we've come up with a couple, haven't we? Which is the harpies and the
Yeah.
sirens, and they will have very different methods of perhaps sort of climbing aboard your ship and attempting to rob it. Sort of space pirates, I guess,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, would be the best way of thinking of them. And again, amazing ways that you can like role play that as a facilitator and like react to that as players. Um, some people, like, depending on certain, if they have in understanding of what those things are, might not get fooled, while other people's might, and it would be interesting to I want to be a space pirate. Well, sure. You'll probably be kicked out of the crew pretty quickly, but you'll
Well,
have plenty of friends waiting for you on
yeah.
the outside.
I suppose one of our tasks is to make the benefactors kind of represent space piracy. So one of the benefactors would be like underworld, kind of like
Which would be
Hades, sort of like,
Hades.
yeah. But then we can have another one that's kind of like piracy or kind of like like thievery and things like this. So it means that when the players choose their combination of benefactors, they can really tailor their character to a certain theme or a certain leaning. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost a bit like choosing, I guess, like a little bit like choosing like a class, but not quite.
It's kind
It's
of like that. It's kind of like that, yeah. And I think it's
yeah.
quite nice. I think it's quite nice to have some choice, especially if you make it a game for all ages, to have some sort of like structure to it. Um, but at the same time, of course, like we talked about before, you can just disregard one you started with and move towards another one, or focus on one particular, or like
Mm,
spread yourself thinly. So you can have like four benefactors, but like only sort of like work for them in a moderate way.
hmm
Whereas you could pick one and get the highest level of equipment or the highest level of boons.
yeah. Um, and again, a bit like in Hades, where you can choose to combine and sort of have quite a lot of abilities, or you can choose to focus on one particular sort of deity and build up to that kind of like ultimate maximum
Yeah.
uh boon, it's going to be a very similar thing. Like you can kind of like, I guess so, like what, multi-class into
Yeah,
lots of
yeah, yeah.
different, you can kind of try and get these benefactors to at least align on a goal, and kind of sponsor you together. But that comes with its own set of challenges, because the more
Hmm.
benefactors that you try and get on board with your mission, the more likely they are to suddenly realize, hang on a minute, you seem to be trying to, seem to be trying. Whose side are you on here? And then
Exactly.
that's when some of the problems start. So I guess that's our version of sort of balancing it, really. Like
Mm,
the more help you try to seek, the more likely you are to start irritating certain
yeah, yeah,
benefactors as well.
yeah, exactly.
So,
And there
but
could be,
that would be down to the facilitator, really, to really.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, you don't
Mm,
have to have this kind of sabotage and infighting, but it's dead fun. It's dead fun
yeah.
having this internal conflict, especially, and like because they would be they would be like that. They're not going to have all these altruistic industry leaders like
Yeah, they would absolutely. They've got quite large pieces of the pie, and they want
yeah,
they want
exactly.
more. They quite enjoy it. And yeah, I think we're really excited as well to when I think we should do a stream, maybe. We're probably looking to do these every couple of weeks, I
Yeah,
think.
every 2 weeks. Yeah,
And maybe in our next one we can kind of have a real good look at the benefactors in particular,
yeah. Let's do
um,
that. Yeah,
and kind of start to hammer out
yeah.
some of these names of their businesses and things.
The
Um,
reason that'd be really good is because Alex would have done all the art for it as well.
yes,
We'll have literally
Alex
every.
will have done the benefactor art, and it will be really cool to show you all maybe a little preview. I don't want to show all of them necessarily, but maybe a
Hmm.
preview of. We could do a poll of which ones people want to see, and
That's a good idea.
based
He'll do that in
based
a week.
on
Yeah,
based on like if we based on like what we talk about and things, we could say, okay, which benefactors sound like your faves, and then we could show the art for them. So that would be really fun, because we've seen some concept art already for them, and I can tell you all that they're very exciting.
yeah,
I
very
I
cool.
love them. I love all. I've been
Yeah,
very unhelpful with feedback. Alex was like, "Give me all the feedback, anything that you think needs changing," and all of my comments are like, "Oh, this is amazing!" And then Rich comes in like, "Here's the feedback."
not at all. Not at all. Yeah,
um,
that's good. Yeah,
I
well
do
done, Tim.
occasionally suggest some things, but
No,
most of the
you're.
time I just like, I'm in the middle of my work shift or something, and then I just sort of
Yeah.
like pass out on the floor. Uh,
Uh,
um,
But what we really focused on was like diversity and kind of like even in like the way they're presented, like body shape and stuff like this. We wanted like a real nice diversity across the board
mhm.
with the benefactors because they're essentially the main NPCs of the game.
Yeah,
There's going to be others, but they'll be made up by the GM. The unique NPCs for that adventure they run. So these are the set in stone kind of NPCs that the benefactor can really grasp onto and roll with.
yeah, and they're really I think that diversity, or like kind of having a lot of like different representation of various minority communities and things, that was something that we were really
Yeah,
really passionate about wanting to have in this game.
yeah,
Uh,
and
so
it'll be reflected in the team by launch by when we launch as well. You know.
yes, yes. So all very exciting. Rich, we've hit 9:30 already, and we've just been
Oh
talking.
gosh, where's the time gone? I knew this would
Where
happen.
has the time gone? To be fair, we did start a little bit late. That is my fault.
We'll go
So
on a little bit. We'll go on a little bit longer. If that's all
we'll
right.
go a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Um, yes, keep at it with the questions though. We're enjoying answer. I'm quite enjoying just sitting here chatting, to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that's what these streams are about. It's about like workshopping and kind of like getting some ideas amongst us all. Dave had a good idea. earlier about a ship that, like the Hydra, like
Ooh, yes, I
an
saw this.
organic spaceship that splits in two when you attack
Oh,
it,
that's
like the Hydra's
cool.
teeth, you know, like Hydra's heads. So that would be cool.
That would be really cool. Bit like the
Um,
bad guy ships in Stingray. See, I think I know what they. Oh, if I'm. Yeah, they're terrifying. Yes, they would be excellent actually.
Stingray was awesome.
Um,
Stingray was awesome.
let me
Um,
just try and turn off this. I was gonna see if I could try and turn off this bot while it's just winding me up at this point, but
yeah, so we're gonna have at the beginning of the game we're gonna have like a lore section about Kronos. He's not gonna be called Kronos, or they're not gonna be called Kronos. We're just gonna have the person that had basically a hold of all the industries, basically a control of the whole planetary system. And like in the Greek
mhm.
myth, kind of like the children of Kronos, kind of murder him, don't they? Um, essentially.
What about a faction that's entirely AI? Oh, well, now, see, we
Ah,
might
yes.
have something like that in the works. Do you mean like one of the benefactors representing that? That could be interesting. I think we've got. I'm trying to remember from our. Hold on,
Well,
we have
Athena
done all of
isn't
this.
Athena in our game like an AI,
Like the AI, it's to
like a
do
warrior?
with wisdom, isn't it?
Hmm.
Um, yes, strategy. So I guess Athena in our game is um, very much our kind of AI, sort of like getting that like wisdom, foresight, um, sort of planning. So Medea is in certainly in the starter adventure, Medea is the gift that Athena gives
Yeah,
as kind of like
to
I
the
have
mission.
installed this amazing AI that I created. But are you saying that perhaps this benefactor might be an AI themselves? Because that would be interesting.
That would be good. That would I like that. I like that a lot. It should be
Oh,
definitely an AI, like a Cortana or something.
that could be really interesting. Um,
Yeah, that's what Artemis saying. That. Let's write that down. Let's write that down.
write that down in. Write it
Uh,
down.
and yeah, cool.
Do not know how to.
Um, what else have we got? We're thinking of a whisper mechanic because the game will involve kind of like sabotage or potentially like individualized tasks within
Mhm.
the overall scheme of things. We're thinking of having like either a private message system or like just a whisper at the table type thing. That would
Yeah.
be interesting. So other people don't have the knowledge of what's happening. They make it
Mhm.
more organic in terms of role playing.
Mhm. Especially when you got so many sneaky benefactors
Yeah.
wanting to have their own motives. And of course, it will be interesting watching that because each crew member will probably be kind of aligning themselves with different benefactors in order to get their own sort of set of boons. So then if they're their different benefactors what they want starts to clash, then that could cause some issues. That kind of thing obviously can sometimes come into, and we would have to kind of create like a sort of, I guess, safety tools and things like that. That can sometimes come into sort of like PvP mentality,
Hmm.
which not everyone enjoys in their games as well. Because at the end of the day, most Greek myths and things is about sort of everyone banding together and fighting against the odds. So I think it can create some very interesting role play opportunities. Um, but I think that the focus will definitely be that above all, they are a crew and they
Yeah.
are kind of like friends and together, and so it will be kind
Yeah.
of how they handle those things. those tests to their
So
camaraderie.
I played a board game recently called if I can remember, it's called Nemesis, right? And
Hmm.
it's on a spaceship actually. It's a bit like Alien. It's a bit like the film
I think
Alien.
I've heard of this.
Yeah. So in Nemesis, the board game, you get a card. You pick your character, obviously, and you each have like individual tasks that are only for you, and you have to complete them in
Mm,
order to kind of like. And some of those tasks, well, unfortunately, sabotage the other crew members. So one of them could be one of your tasks could be like I've got to keep the engines going to reach homeland or something, and
mm,
another person's task could be I've got to just sabotage the engines and keep us in deep space so the alien doesn't spread to the Earth colony. So I imagine it being a similar thing to that the GM will give players maybe a set of tasks
hmm,
during the voyage that they can either complete or not complete. But if they do complete them, they get extra boons. Say
hmm. Yeah, I think
so
that's a really
they
good
don't
idea.
have to. They don't have to, but they'll get bonuses or benefits if they do manage to do that, even if that
Hmm.
means screwing over a crewmate a little bit.
You could kind of have like a sort of like a main goal, and
Yeah,
then maybe some additional, and like the main
yeah,
goal, if you don't complete, or if you don't like not completing it or not working towards it, your benefactor might start to ask questions as to why you're not doing that thing.
hmm,
But the additional goals are just kind of extras
yeah.
that if you do those things, then hooray, you get some extra boons. But other than that, it's not necessary.
No, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
but we can work that
that could
out.
be a
I
very
mean,
interesting like just kind of like little mini side missions. It gives a player like a focus. It gives them something to start building a character around as well. Um,
yeah.
so that's definitely.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool because you could even on the character sheet at the beginning of session 0, you could have the players write down what they want to do. Like, say, I want to, like, if they know the themes of the game and they know kind of what their end goal is, and they know what their benefactors kind of like likes and dislikes are, they can maybe
Mm,
tailor that to their own sort of like mini quests or mini missions.
hmm.
But we'll have to think
Um,
about that as we go through and design it. We'll have to think about that because that could be quite an integral part of it.
yeah, it could definitely be. Uh, DC Bradshaw said, maybe split goals into themes so that everyone has objectives related to different things. Faction theme, a tech theme, a relationship theme. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
definitely interesting, and that could definitely come into like what the actual benefactors do as well. Like
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
them are definitely more interested in social side of things. Different like types of we already talked about how there'll be different types of like encounters as it were. There'll be like exploration and then like
Hmm.
social and combat, and so I guess there could be different sort of missions associated with those different things as well.
But we could even have like a kind of like a rolling table. We could literally have like a choice, multiple choice table where you roll for it, and it says like develop new technology for this or mine for this mineral on one
Mhm.
of the asteroids, and you
Mhm.
just put it on your sheet, and it's like I've got to try and do that, and it'll give me bonuses.
Mhm. Yeah. Um Well, we've got some really cool ideas. We've not worked on this paragraph at all, but that's fine. 'Cause I think really our main objective with this first one was to kind of just talk about the game,
Yeah.
and talk about like the things about the game that excited us, um, and start to get people's kind of and obviously we've ended up having a productive procrastination. That's the perfect way of describing it because it has
Mm.
been productive, not on the section that perhaps we wanted it to be, but maybe we should give that to ourselves as some homework, Rich, for us to do. No, let's not commit to things like that because you know that they'll come back and be like, you haven't done your homework.
Yeah. No,
It'll be like our teachers.
we'll be working on this like regularly, and getting it push. We'll get it fleshed
Our
out.
romanceable NPCs is going to absolutely be down to the
Yeah,
facilitator.
yeah.
I'm not putting any bars on anything. any and all of the benefactors can be romanceable, but that can come with its own set of worries if things go wrong. Shadow Space Heart, for goodness sake. um, I'm really enjoying all of the Baldur's Gate that is invading our chat right now.
It's bound to happen. It's probably
It,
invading every Twitch chat.
oh, hello. I'm so sorry. um, Yeah, romanceable NPC. I mean, any game that I play, I am up for romanceable NPCs, especially sort of long-term campaigns. I think it can
Yeah.
add to it. But that's down to the facilitators, to be
Yeah, absolutely.
honest,
Yeah.
to create those kind of storylines and things like that. But it definitely isn't something that we're gonna ban from the game for sure. You can do that. That's all to do with the storytelling. Um, Rich, do you want to go on any longer, or
No,
do you
no, I
think we
think
should?
I can wrap it here,
Do you
and
think we
I
should
think we,
wrap it here?
yeah.
Um,
So next session,
Darcy coming in just in time to see the cat. Kitty. um,
So in a couple of weeks
yeah.
we'll explore the benefactors. Yeah, I think that's what we should concentrate on. Let's get them. Let's get these sort of like talked about.
Art, don't you worry. There is definitely going to be a benefactor related to Artemis. That is a
There
given,
is,
and
there
I
is one.
will
Yeah.
absolutely have a space laser bow and arrow just for you. Don't worry. We can get that in there. We've got some really cool. We're gonna come up with some really cool weapon designs, I think, with
Oh
Alex.
yeah,
So,
it's gonna be some amazing
space
characters.
laser bow and arrow is top of my list, quite frankly. Um, but yeah, let's wrap it there then. Thank you all. I am now a romanceable NPC. Thank you all so much for joining us. We hope that you have got to understand the game a little bit more, that you're excited about it as we are, because we're a bit too excited sometimes, and we definitely go off on these tangents just as we have in this stream.
Hmm.
But we're having a blast making it so far, and we can't wait to kind of like do these streams and then go back to our drawing board in our meetings and kind of hash out some stuff based on community feedback, because we kind of love this collaboration idea. um Aliens that move in an unnatural shaky way. um yeah.
Bad skeletons.
Nothing's off the table here. Stop. um no, we can definitely do a Ray Harryhausen creatures, yes. They kind of make me think of, I feel like the very old Jason and the Argonauts film, when the skeletons come out of the dirt and the way
Oh
that they
yeah,
move was really creepy.
so good though.
Yeah, because it was like very like that's kind of like weird like stop motion animation-y type.
Yeah, still
Ugh.
holds up pretty well. Still holds up pretty
It
well.
does, yeah. Yes, absolutely. When you get your hands on the game, you can have your unnatural, shaky Ray Harryhausen terrifying skeletons from the dirt, if you like. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for getting excited about this game with us and coming up with all these cool ideas and asking all these questions. We've really enjoyed chatting with you all.
Yeah, thank you so
Um,
much.
and we're gonna be back, let's say in a couple of weeks, in a couple of weeks time. So
Mhm.
look out on the socials for the next stream date and time. And maybe we will start to deep dive a little bit more into these benefactors
Yeah, that's
when
what we
we
need to
next
get into.
stream. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. That's the bit that we're kind of, our head is really in at the moment. So I
Hmm.
think that would be a really good place to go. Um, but yeah, cheerio, I guess. Hope everyone has a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you might be. And we will see you soon. Feel free to message us anytime if you have any other questions, thoughts, and ideas. You don't have to wait till the next stream. We will be about on all of our social medias. So you can
Hmm.
find, just to reiterate, me at lawmistress93 on Twitter and Blue Sky is where I mainly am now. And you can find me on Discord as well. I'm in a lot of Discord servers, so you can probably just you'll find me on some of them. And Rich Hatchling DM
Yeah. And
on
there's a Discord channel for Argo as well, if you want to put any feedback in there on the
yeah,
Hatchlings
absolutely. Come and join
games one.
the Hatchling Discord server,
Mm-hmm.
Hatchling Games Discord server. Do we have a link for that actually? I can make that for next time maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll find it on Rich's Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
the link to it. Um, Come and join us because there is channels for each of the games, including Argo-0, and you can come and write all of your lovely ideas there, and we will put the VOD up there as well. I'm going to have it moved over to YouTube, so it will be forever, forever, forever saved. But yes, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again soon. Bye.
Bye bye. Cheers. Thank you.